So welcome back to another mini chat. Grab your tea, grab your favorite drink, and let's just chop it up for a few minutes, keeping it real, therapist to therapist chit chat. So today I wanted to talk about what I had to learn the hard way as an early intervention therapist. I'm being honest with you, these past few years in early intervention have taught me some lessons that I'm like, oh my gosh, why did anybody share this? Why didn't anybody warn me about this? Lesson number one that I learned very quickly is that burnout can come very quickly, especially when you care very deeply. When I first started off in early intervention, I wanted to give my 110%. I mean, I still do now, but it has to come with some boundaries, is what I learned over the years. And so when you're first starting off, you just want to show up and be like 150% for all of your families. You want to be that expert that families can go to. You want all of your children on your caseload to make all the progress. You want to come off as the parent expert. You just want to get checks, gold stars, A pluses, all the things when you are working as an EI therapist, especially if you're newer to early intervention. Here's the thing, you cannot pour and pour and pour and pour and pour and give so much of yourself that you start to lose yourself. What that looks like is, let's say you're picking up clients, right? And what this could look like in real life is that could mean you are picking up clients all over town. That could mean that your driving schedule is chaotic because you want to pick up everybody that you're driving from point A to point B and they're like 30 minutes apart, and then you're driving to another location that's like 20 minutes apart, and then you're driving to another location that's like 40 minutes apart, and before you know it, you've done a whole Google Maps situation in less than 5 hours, and that is not ideal. That is what can quickly burn you out. So my advice for you is to stick to a driving schedule that is manageable for you. When I first started off, I made that mistake too. So you're not alone if you're struggling with that right now. I made that mistake of driving all over town, from one town to the next and back to the town, instead of me consolidating my driving route. And so now when I see my clients, if my first client is scheduled out a little bit further, I'm perfectly okay with that, because the rest of the day, all of my clients are in that cluster where they're no more than 5 to 10 minutes apart from one another. So instead of me zigzagging and driving all over the place, I usually pick one specific area or one town per day, and I'm stuck in that little hub or that little area for that particular day. And trust me, that has made my life so much easier, especially with scheduling and driving time. It just helps so much more. So when it comes to driving or whatever other aspects or scheduling, you need to set your boundaries. Remember, passion without rest or without a strategic plan can quickly lead to burnout. Which leads me to hard lesson number 2, is that lack of boundaries does not help anybody. I used to say yes to everything. I learned that quickly. That can burn you out so fast. Remember to prioritize the things that you have to get done and you must get done, but the things that are not a necessary to do, don't do it, right? You can manage that maybe a little bit later or a different day, but if it doesn't require your attention right then and there, it's okay to kind of put it off. So one thing that I have learned is to create a top 3 priority list for me on a daily basis, right? So these are just 3 things, my top 3. Obviously, I have a million things to do. I always have a huge to-do list, but I don't necessarily always write out those full to-do lists on a daily basis because I don't want to completely overwhelm myself. And so if I structure my day so I'm just looking at just my top 3 things that I have to accomplish that day, that helps me so much more. Also, make sure you are setting boundaries for the time and the hours that you work, the time and the hours that you respond and reply to families, the time and the hours that you respond to other therapists, because I kid you not, sometimes I will have therapists who will text me at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night. And I'm like, why? This was not an emergency. I get it sometimes as therapists, right? Our brains are full and we're like, okay, if I don't text this right now, I'm going to forget it. So I understand that. but that doesn't mean necessarily you have to respond in that moment, especially if it's like not a 911 type of emergency. If it's another therapist asking you a question about something that happened in the session or some progress or some strategies, that can wait till tomorrow when your business hours are open again, okay? So don't think that just because someone contacts you and it's outside of your typical work hours that you have to respond. You do not, right? Set your boundaries on when you're going to respond, whether it's a family, whether it's through email, whether it's through text, because you don't want to burn yourself out trying to respond all the time. Also, when it comes to those boundaries, set a time of when you're going to stop working. I know as early intervention therapists, sometimes we can carry work home with us. And honestly, sometimes that's a part of the job. You know, we try our best to get our notes done in the session, but every now and then we have some times where that just does not happen. But you do want to have a clear cutoff time when you go home at night, right? You don't want to be still working on stuff 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night, because you're going to have to go to bed and get right back up and do it all over again the next day. And that can quickly lead to fatigue, mental exhaustion, and just complete burnout. And that leads me to lesson number 3. Hard lesson number 3 is just because you say no, it does not mean it's the end of the world, right? Because saying yes to everything, like we just talked about, can burn you out quickly. So just because you say no to some things, it doesn't mean that you're a bad therapist, right? It does not mean that at all. It just means that you have respect for yourself and respect for your boundaries, and you need to stick to that. As early intervention therapists, and just as therapists in general, we are like natural nurturers. We want to help everybody. And I can't even lie, I'm still learning this lesson right now, but we can't always say yes to everything and everybody all the time. And I know a lot of us worry that we're gonna come off as being mean or selfish or just like a bad person. And I can't even lie, sometimes I have those thoughts still. You know, I'm a work in progress too. You know, I'm not perfect over here. But if we take a step back sometimes and we just kind of let people figure things out for themselves, sometimes they magically get a solution without you helping or without you intervening. It's just that you're like their first natural go-to, like, oh, ask her, ask her, ask her. And because they're so used to you saying yes and they're so used to you giving, then they kind of expect that response. But if you don't respond or if you say no, somehow they magically figure it out anyway. So hard lesson number 3 is you do not have to say yes to everything all the time. Remember, you don't want to be spread too thin, and every yes has a cost. And saying no is not a bad word, and saying no does not make you unhelpful. It just makes you human. You can't do it all the time, as much as we would love to. So remember to plan your priorities first, whether that's your family, whether that's your downtime, whether that's even your workouts. Plan your work life around your personal life instead of vice versa, and I promise you, you'll live a much healthier life that way. If you're an early intervention therapist, just believe me, just trust me when I say there are some lessons that you just have to learn the hard way. But if I can help you in any type of way, I am. So be sure to subscribe to this channel if you are an early intervention therapist so that you can learn more about the real life behind being an EI therapist, and we can continue to have some more mini chats where we just keep it real and have real life conversations about being a therapist in this setting. So drop your comments below. Is there anything that you have learned the hard way, or that you're learning the hard way, or anything that you're struggling with right now as a therapist? Let's chat about it below. Thank you guys for watching. Until the next time.